All right. Welcome, everyone. My name is Bart. Welcome to Explain Everything, your joint session where we're open ourselves for question to provide you with answers that you need. Together with me, we have Kuba online. Hey, Kuba.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Explain Everything Q&A webinar. I'll be taking care of the questions that are coming in from the chat and chiming in from time to time to help Bart with showing what's going on and what can we do. So feel free to ask questions in the chat in Zoom, or if you're on YouTube, feel free to post your questions there. You can also use the Q&A section of Zoom. It's very convenient to post questions there. This way you'll make sure that it doesn't end up in the clogged chat, because there can be so many questions going on there. And a few housekeeping items as well. We're recording this session, so it will be later available for you to revisit. You'll receive an email if you signed up on Zoom on our website. And if you're on YouTube, please subscribe. It will appear on our channel as well.
Great. Thank you, Kuba, for introduction. Kuba is known as Cooper. Cooper likes to work behind the scenes, so you can count on his help when asking questions. Sometimes we have so many, we kind of seem overwhelmed with the demand for illustrations. So then Kuba is known for doing miracles behind the scenes. Once he was able to answer like 78 questions during an hour, which was remarkable. But for the time being, I hope we can cope with number of questions we have for us today. So we can, in the end, explain everything. I must admit, this is one of the most exciting formats of the webinars that we have, where we open ourselves to issues and questions coming from you. So we don't actually have an agenda for this meeting, except that we're here for you. So feel free to post those questions to, as Kuba said, chat window or comment section of YouTube, and we'll explore those topics that you suggest, and we'll go as deep as it's necessary for us to illustrate what you need. Kuba, from your perspective, what was the most exciting thing you've learned during the last Q&A we had 2 weeks ago?
That the stealth mode is still the hardest thing to understand and explain everything. And yeah, well, that wasn't surprising, but yeah, this is something that, just so you know, in regards to Zoom and stealth and like controlling your camera and during recording, there are some exciting changes coming to explain everything, and we are working on them right now. So some of the questions you might have regarding the Zoom feature and Stealth Ninja and setting up your recording frame might be just resolved, or might just become much easier to use. Those features might become much easier to use in the very near future.
So how do you define near future, Kuba?
Oh, asking hard questions right there.
Hold on, you don't need to answer. You don't need to answer. This is something that we are preparing, and we mentioned about this several times during those webinars, that we are preparing changes in user experience. So some buttons that we use to control camera and control the viewport is actually where you capture your video, those things will change, and there will be no more stealth mode, the ninja mode, as you see here in the lower left corner, that you can use to change your perspective without anyone else noticing. So this is something we're simplifying, reducing complexity, and making it more easy to use. And this will be available very soon with the version of 6 of our app, starting from iOS, and then it will spread, that's a good word of a day, across different platforms.
So there's a question from the chat. What is Stealth Ninja? So the Stealth Ninja is a mode you can enable on the zoom feature or zoom tool, which enables you to move around without disturbing anyone, just like a ninja would do, right? They hence the icon of the mode. So yeah, it mainly was used or is used currently for moving around the canvas without moving the recording frame. And the recording frame is the area that you're recording. So if you use the zoom, stealth zoom, you will be able to set up your frame so that things can, say, enter the recording frame. So this gives you the ability to create all sorts of dramatic effects and then so on while doing
maybe less
collaboration.
dramatic. Maybe
Oh,
less,
yeah.
less dramatic. Let's illustrate that real quick. If there's a question, maybe it's the last time we can demonstrate how it works before the change, but still you have the UI as we do now. So it makes a lot of sense to answer this question presently. So let's say this is a canvas that I'm using, and I'll just paint it white, but I'll leave the border so it kind of like matches the perspective that I have here. And let's say I want to create an effect of car coming from the left side of the screen. And that would be the recording that I want to have, a car just coming from the left side and appearing on the screen. And I cannot move if I add a car here. I'll just look for a clip art. And I like red cars, so maybe I'll paint it red. And I cannot like move it here without car being visible at the very beginning. So I need to have it outside of this frame to begin with in order to slide it to the perspective of the canvas. And for that, I can use the zoom tool here. So that's the zoom tool showing me more that will be captured on a video. So now with the hand tool, I can move this car outside of the view, turn on the record. I'll mute my microphone. I'll turn on the record. As you see, I'm still in the ninja mode, so-called. And I can slide this car to the frame now as this. And then when I stop, rewind, and play, that's the result you'll see. So that's basically what Ninja is for you. You can control and see more that will be captured on a frame when you're doing explainer videos. But it also has this very interesting feature that if you use Ninja mode during collaboration, you can move around, pan across the canvas, zoom into things without anyone else noticing. Is that a nice feature, isn't it, Cooper?
yeah, it is. It's gonna get easier to use. So the ninja's gonna go. But right, so there are questions coming in. So let's just jump right into answering them.
Fantastic.
So from anonymous attendee, love the ruler feature of explain everything, but every time I try to rotate it, it jumps 3-degree turns. Is there any way to make it turn 1 degree at a time?
Right, so we're speaking here of this feature. And when we are in the draw mode, we can kind of like rotate it. 1 degree at a time is difficult because of snapping, right? So what is your answer, Kuba, to this particular problem?
It's kind of tricky to get it exactly right. Since the ruler is kind of only on iOS right now, if I remember correctly. But yeah, I'll check it soon on my Android here. But we didn't really expand on it, to be honest. So it should have like a like a setting option, the same as with the speed of rotation, for example. That it should probably feature some control. But as you can see, Bard, by being very precise, can achieve
2 degrees.
this sort of 2, 1. So
well, 1 actually it's hard for me. So yes, we need to acknowledge this is a problem. And usually when we do this autocorrection of position of objects like here, they snap into position when they have this setting on. We do have a special setting for this, that object snap into position, right? And it's not working for rulers. So it's something we need to think about and improve, because you can do kind of like 2 degrees, but not 1 as requested. Yeah, good catch. Thank you for this.
All right. Question from
we'll improve this, so it's going
anonymous.
to be used.
Okay. Is there a way, or will be there soon, to copy an entire slide from one presentation to another? So it's not currently possible as a automatic feature. What you can do is say, if you have 2 already existing presentations, already existing projects, and you want to take one slide and copy it to another, it is not possible right now, because I assume you want to include the recording too. But if you're starting out with the project, it is possible, but you just need to duplicate the project and then delete all the other slides, right? That's how I would do it if I was starting with a new slide. There is a way of creating your own template. So you can create your own template for a slide. So when you add a new slide, you are able to select a template and insert a pre-existing slide that you've prepared previously. So there's another way of achieving that. And
Kuba, why don't we demonstrate how to actually take a slide with recording and merge it with the presentation where you want to have it, because it is possible to go around this. Oh, that's maybe they're not most desirable creatures now, but let me just do this with that. So let's say we do have this. Oh, sorry, it should be like that. We do have this tiny animation on one of the slides, right? And I'll just trim it. So that's my slide with recording. If you look at this, this is a presentation with one slide. This slide contains 4 seconds of recording. That's a slide to add 4 seconds long. Let's say I want to take this slide and put it to our live Q&A session that I have listed here. So the way I can do this is, when being in a folder, I can drag this project and put it on top of the project where I want the slide to be included. And this will provide me with an option to merge projects. So I can basically merge those projects under a new name. So that's Q&A session. And it will copy the slide, or should I say the entire project, and create a new one that will contain all 3 slides. So that was my presentation, right? That's the slide number 1. We started with this one, then I illustrated Ninja mode on that slide. And now I have this new slide. I can put it to the right order. It should be at the very end, let's say, of my presentation. But you can definitely, by this little trick of merging projects, come up with a solution of copying a single slide. You need to isolate it as a project and merge it with the project where you need it.
So yeah, but we are aware of this need to have this ability to copy one slide to another presentation, and that's something on our minds. No solid time of arrival yet, but yeah, that's something we would love to have. And please keep in mind, this will work only if you're working on local projects. So it is available in iOS version and Android and Chromebook versions for your local projects.
Correct. So that's the Yeah, that's a workaround, but we will make sure to implement something that will make your life easier in this regard.
All right, so question from Jennifer about collaboration and voice chat.
Right.
A colleague and myself were collaborating on a whiteboard. We had the voice chat option on. We had trouble figuring out how to stop the voice chat, and I could hear her conversation in her home for about half an hour before the voice chat stopped. How do we control the voice chat settings on and off during a collaborative whiteboard?
So Kuba, how do we do that?
Just by muting the microphone. That's the answer. If the microphone is muted, you should no longer send audio. You should be able to receive audio if your colleague left her or their microphone on, but you know, that's up to them. You are not able to mute them from the Explain Everything yet. That's something that is coming to Explain Everything too. But yeah, to mute yourself, you just press on the button, and this will disable your microphone. Because when you join the whiteboard, the question that pops up is essentially this: whether you want to enter with this turned on or off. It's not that it's a separate feature; it's just that button. So that we just give you the possibility to disable it when you enter, and essentially later on you just disable it as you go if you want to mute yourself. So if your colleague stayed there and you could hear that, just let them know via some other means and let them know that you can hear them, so that so you don't have to listen to their private conversations.
Yet we are soon to improve controls to have a better control over what is turned on or off, what kind of features participants of collaborations have. But this will come soon. This is another update to the app that you're using. And for now, that's basically what Kuba provided. You need to make sure that the microphone is muted. And in the future, we will provide you with the functionality to mute those participants that you have in a session. All
right.
Cool.
It's a more of an in-depth question because it's hard. It's going to be hard for me to like troubleshoot that because there are so many things that come into play. Deborah asked, I have been trouble recording via Zoom and also in Explain Everything. When I record via Zoom, it has been disconnecting the screen broadcasting a couple of minutes into recording, as well as recording via Explain Everything. When I started recording, it would not let me move to the next page. Advice. So this is when you're broadcasting, there are sometimes situations where Zoom kind of takes over the audio, for example. I know it's not the exact same scenario that you're described here, but sometimes they kind of overlap in some quirky ways, and we weren't able to pinpoint them yet because they are quite rare. Though if you are experiencing them often, we would love to learn more so that we can maybe try and find the cause of that. But from our experience, yes, that there were some situations where it was being disruptive a little bit. This connection between Explain Everything and Zoom, though our initial guesses is that just is because how they both are built and how they are connected via the broadcasting from the iPad. If that's what you're using, that should probably be my first question. So it's hard for us to provide any advice at this point because they're and I'm wondering why it wouldn't let you to move to the next page. That's the odd part, which
that's quite odd because there are many failure points on the connection. In a situation when you're live casting or whiteboard, and we're not sure. I don't know if the device was provided here, was it really iPod or something else? But what we observe quite often is that this conflict in getting audio stream from Explain Everything or from Zoom is frequent, where you're trying to use cable with iOS device and just connect with the computer to transmit screen of your iPad that way. You might want to connect in a different way, like, for example, having an app, a Zoom app installed on your tablet and just connect as another participant to the session, independently from connecting to the session from your computer. And by that, it might work better. If you're sharing through cable, one advice would be to set the preferences to not grab the audio from the device. That's something you can do. And that's actually something we do during this session. So when we're recording, we don't have a conflict. But as I mentioned, there are many points of failure. So if there is a scenario that consistently gives you error, just share exact steps how you connect your device with Zoom session, and we're happy to provide you with some suggestions.
Okay, so next question from Richard. I have had trouble editing sections of recordings in the timeline. How can I delete only part of the recording? So there are a couple of ways you can approach that. It depends on what you want to go with, because there are two ways you can do that. You can either clear a part of your recording so that nothing is there, but the time stays the same, or you can delete and compact the remaining parts together so that they are joined, and the selection is removed and kind of, taken away, whereas the two parts are joined together. So we can show you that Bart has this recording of the car. So
no, I'll just add some more to this recording. So we have this car, and there was this, let's say, engine problem that we want to remove from the final recording, right? And then this engine problem was solved, and the car in this silly recording kept going. Okay, so that's the recording I have. Coming in, engine problem solved, and we resumed our journey. And we want to remove this part, essentially, where we had this problem. So the journey seems to be uninterrupted. And in order to do that, you can use this tool here to select part of your recording. As you see now, it's selected. And Kuba, you mentioned trimming, right?
Yeah, either clearing or deleting and compacting. There are two ways of doing that.
So that would be the option for you. This made this part of selected recording disappear. So it seems that there was everything fine with engine. So that's one way you can do it. Okay, and the other option, Kuba?
The other one was to clear the part, so that the time stays intact.
So I'll now add engine problem again. In order to do that, I used insert mode, as you see. So I kind of like expanded this video with engine problem. Okay, so we have, again, this situation. I forgot to delete the smoke, right? So engine problem, and we're on our journey again. Okay, and Kuba, your second solution was to do what exactly? Select again, right?
Select and clear.
And here we have this option delete, right?
Yep. The first bin icon on the timeline. Yep.
Okay, it also works that way. But once I deleted that, kind of like timeline stays the same. There's a pause in the journey, but what was selected is now removed, and we don't see the engine problem anymore. And of course, we can then compact it if we'd like to have this journey seem to be uninterrupted, like this.
Exactly. And there are some additional tips we can give. Say if you want to keep the audio, you would lock the audio track not to remove audio when deleting. And yeah. And there are some more information. I'll post a link to our help center where you can learn more about the video editing options.
But basically, that was the first thing we do. We select it, and then we use this tool as a second thing we did was to delete and compact. Great. Hope that's useful.
Okay. And let's jump to the question from Nigel. Have people shared Explain Everything when using Teams? I swap between sharing my iPad screen with my students, but can't save the session that only takes place within Explain Everything. So
there is no difference when you're using Teams or WebEx or Zoom. Basically, these are conferencing solutions that allows you to broadcast your whiteboard. I wonder if you could provide this question.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time understanding the second part. I swap between sharing my iPad screen with my students, but can save the session that only takes place within Explain Everything.
So it means there's a problem recording within Teams. They do have this. Well, I never had that problem, to be very honest. It's important to understand we have two different ways of recording. So maybe I can, for those that are watching us and are wondering what we're thinking about, is that if you have, let's say, Microsoft Teams, the Microsoft Teams recording captures frame by frame of what's shared. If you're sharing your iPad or Google Chrome or Android screen with whiteboard, that's what's captured pixel by pixel. Now, when you're using Explain Everything inside, and let's pretend that's Explain Everything for you, what you're capturing is all activity, animations, actions that you do using assets on a canvas. And you can kind of like mix those two recordings to have a similar effect, but Explain Everything recording that sits here on the bottom of the screen is actually to have more for explainer videos. So you can repurpose material that you, let's say, recorded when you need that. Session recording on Microsoft Teams or Zoom are assets that you don't need to edit anymore. This session, once done, we record it on Zoom and YouTube, will be just stored as a final product. We won't mess with it anymore. But with Explain Everything recording, you can. So think about how you want to use recording. If you are thinking about repurposing what you're capturing with Explain Everything, yes, that's the format for you. But with Microsoft Teams, that question, I believe, relates to capturing the screen of the whiteboards in the Teams and inability to save it within their storage system. That's what I think, Kuba, is happening.
Yeah, because I'm wondering, we would need a little bit more explanation from you, Nigel, so that we can understand it more. Because what do you mean by the can't save the session that only takes place within Explain Everything? Would you like to save a recording in Explain Everything? Would you like to record only things that happen in Explain Everything so that you record those interactions with your students, or the parts where you explain something within Explain Everything? So I'm sorry about that, but yeah, we could use a little bit more of your help to better understand that process. So until Nigel answers, we would move to next question. So we were waiting for more insight from you, Nigel, and then we'll get back to you. All right, I tried to record myself explaining a slide to my students. It showed that it was recording, but when I played it back, it did not play any sound.
Maybe microphone is muted.
there are things to look for. First thing is that it has to have an audio track. And when you're recording, and if the sound is being recorded, the bottom of the timeline should display this so-called waveform. And if everything works properly, the waveform should be visible. We haven't recorded any sound here, but on the bottom of this timeline, there should be a waveform that displays the audio.
So let me add this. So I'll use mix recording just to add audio track, as you mentioned. Oh my God, the engine is on fire! As you see here, and I'll just trim it a little bit, you have the audio track. So when I play it, I don't know if you're going to hear this through Zoom. Hopefully not, but that's the audio track, and look for this. If it exists, that means your audio is captured, and for some reason it's not playing on your end. It might be because of the microphone, because of the headphones connected here. Here you have an option to choose which headphones or audio system you're using, so check that out. But you're okay and safe in terms of capturing sound if you see the audio track.
Yep, and you can see the difference between when Bart was talking and not, because it starts with a kind of, empty, not very high sound rate, and then it moves on to the big wave where he started screaming. And so that's, if this did not display in the timeline, well, it wouldn't play any sound. If it was there and it and you exported it as a video, or you wanted to play this, there might have been some kind of connection problem with the between your device and speakers or headphones, or and the last part is that something could have went wrong with explain everything, and the sound was not playing properly. So these are my guesses and things to look for if you happen to encounter this. Once again, please reach out to us and we'll look into it, because if that's on our side, then we would love to fix that.
And we like looking to problems like that in order to remove it for other users. So feel free to contact us through our support mail, and we can try to kind of like see what's going on. But we have thousands of videos created every day, and those problems with audio are really very, very rare. So it might be the problem with connecting speakers or headphones and just selecting wrong input or output. Here in this panel, I'm using iPad, so I'm just showing you an iPad, but it might be also in different, on Android device, it looks a bit differently, but works the same. So check for those inputs and outputs of yours. If you don't have, for example, a Bluetooth headset connected from the other room without being aware of the fact, and that might spoil your results.
Right, and also there's some say that depending on the platform that you're using, explain everything. Was it an iPad? Sorry. I didn't see what was the platform. So say if you were using explain everything in the browser, there's a possibility that you've disabled the microphone, and
right, yeah,
explain everything won't be able to record sound in there. So
because you can block the browser. I cannot show this here, but when
essentially you can block audio wherever on any platform, right? if you disable permission to use microphone for explain everything, then it won't record sound.
Exactly. So that would be that's a good advice. So check audio input permissions, system permission to use audio by explain everything. Because you can restrict that on any systems now. It's possible to restrict audio permission to use audio by explain everything. You can also restrict access to photos the same way. And if it's restricted, you might not be aware of that, and explain everything will not be able to use those resources. And it's the same with browsers. So that's a good suggestion, Kuba.
Right. Okay, let's jump on another questions. My teachers are reporting issues with our young iPad users are having difficulty with attaching their explain everything files with Classroom. Specifically, mark done button disappears, requiring students' parents to go to Classroom to mark it done. Suggestions. Oh, well, that sounds interesting. We haven't heard about it yet.
In the UI of explain everything, the button done disappears. Is that?
Yeah, I think it's when you open up the Classroom integration and send it to Classroom, because it kind of acts both ways, so that the initial integration is on our side, but then it might be also caused by the Classroom app. But yeah, we would have to look into it. Why do you have Google Classroom on your device still?
I think I do. So what should I share, a video or just a project?
I don't think that matters. Okay. Regardless of how you share it, it should work the same way. You're just sending a file to Google Classroom.
So let me use this animation. I'll try to export this as a file, maybe.
So I assume that
Google Classroom.
That's you're not having the same problem with any other apps. So just it happens in explain everything, right? If you could just confirm if that's the case, then that would make our life easier. So this is the thing that we are launching from explain everything, right? This modal, this window, you see that. I think you would have to be a student though to mark it as done.
Yeah. So I'll try to switch my accounts if I can.
Yeah, we had some amazing
journeys. Whoa! And my iPad just crashed. Luckily, it was already explain everything, so you just see a black screen now. That's cool. And now you see my password. You need to change this. All right.
Oh, we didn't see your password. No worries.
Really good.
Yeah.
Good. And now it's not looking for. Okay. Okay, now it's working fine. Okay, so I'll change my account if I can, just to try to demonstrate this for you. We have a teacher accounts. I guess I'll be a student that way. Okay. But I'm not a participant of any class.
Yeah, we would have to set up an assignment anyway.
Right, so I'm not able to demonstrate it quickly. But it's important for us to understand if the problem was within the UI of explain everything.
Or was it appearing later? Because there might be some odd interaction. Yeah, we'd have to go just step by step. So yeah, we'll yes, this only happens explain everything to Classroom and in the EE app. So yeah, okay. So we'll try to reproduce that and send it to testing so that we can see if that's something that happens. So thank you for letting us know about this.
Yeah, we'll test it.
Okay. Maria asks, how do I get started and introduce a class? So I assume introduce explain everything to a class. I'll send a couple links to the chat so you could just, you know, start. But I usually it also depends on what you want to do with it, right? Because Explain Everything is such a vast tool that finding a right idea for you is the best thing most often. So if you are planning to have a group session with your students, when it's a different approach if you want to just let them create their own videos and summaries of the learning, right? It kind of works the same way, but usually it's best to show how to insert a photo into Explain Everything and how to write and how to record your voice. That's and what's happening on the screen and explaining what you've learned. That's the most basic scenario for Explain Everything, and it works very, very well because it immediately produces this kind of artifact of learning, or example of understanding when students try to explain what they've learned and how they learned. So yes, adding a photo, moving the photo, annotating a photo, and recording while doing that, those are first steps that I would introduce Explain Everything with, and then provide some other examples. But there are so many that we usually, whenever we are asked, say we every year we go to London to this huge how's it called?
BET conference.
Yeah. So it's a conference. It's a fair. What, I don't remember the name. Sorry. How do you call that in English? So, and there are so many people coming up and asking what it is for, and I don't say what it is for. I ask them what they do and then show them what they can do with it. So that's the powerful thing about Explain Everything, that you actually can do almost anything. And starting out might be a little bit intimidating at first for some people, but this is the simplest thing works best. So adding document, photo, existing presentation, existing document, something like this. Yeah, and annotating, moving around, and recording produces something that's immediately has this lasting effect.
So if I may, we're working on a way to make your life easier to start working with Explain Everything with your students, especially when your students are currently connecting with you remotely. And that's why we will have guides prepared as infographics for those that are just starting. And this is kind of like one of those guides that we're preparing. This is a guide to submit your work using Explain Everything, explaining how to obtain, work on, and return a project using either a computer or a tablet. And we have those suggestions how to open project and a few tips on working. And those are actually tips that Kuba already shared, as we're showing like a simple set of tools, the essential tools of Explain Everything. This is a drawing. Maybe I can just zoom it in a bit more. This is a drawing, scaling, highlighting, erasing, and of course, recording. And once result is produced by your student, how to submit your project as a access code or as a file if your students are using tablet devices to LMSs of different kinds. And this is something we'll soon share. If you need it quicker, let us know after this webinar. We can put you on the list to receive this material earlier. However, if you see a demand for other types of material that will kind of like accelerate process of getting up to speed with Explain Everything in your class, let us know. Let us know exactly what you need. We'll be happy to look into it and perhaps make a standardized material for other teachers as well.
Awesome. That's yeah, it's a great question. And we are also expanding our guide section of our help center so that you have more step-by-step entire scenarios thing instead of just, you know,
That's a good tip.
Yep.
We'll show you where it is, where to look for those standardized step-by-step tutorials and guides. We call them guides. So when you're on our web page, you need to go to support section here. And if you go there, look for, this is a new element to our help center, guides. And if you enter guides, you'll see those step-by-step guides of how to make videos. There are many ways to do the video. Let's say you're interested in visual storytelling, starting from a blank canvas. So that's something you want to learn how to do. So then go to this article. There'll be a short description, including animated clips. Those are GIFs that show how to use those tools. This is an illustration of how to prepare materials and put them to the clipboard. And then when you're storytelling, well, you can practice with those materials, quickly adding them to the canvas as illustrated here. And you can practice before recording. And when you record, you start recording, you add assets, you can add your video and record that way. And this is one of the many guides that we're preparing. We're kind of like in the middle of process of producing them. So there'll be more to appear, but make sure to go to Explain Everything Help Center and look for guides.
Right. All right. A question from Leslie. Can you explain the differences, if any, between the different platforms? My district uses multiple. So there are a couple, and they are quite, well, we are working hard to just minimize them. So I can tell you today that there's a difference between one of them, and then tomorrow there will be an update from Android version, and we'll stop, you know. So we are keeping the updated information regarding the differences in our article on our help center. So I'll just link it in the chat, and so you can take a look and see all the differences, the main ones. At least there are some quirks and differences, but you shouldn't run into them very often. So these are the main differences between platforms. The core distinction is that if you are using Explain Everything in a web browser, your projects are always cloud projects. Whereas if you are using Explain Everything app on an iOS, so iPad or iPhone, or app on a Chromebook that you've downloaded from Google Play, there you will be able to create your local projects. So they will not be in the cloud unless you want them to. So yeah, that's the main difference between the platforms that are currently available. There are some tool differences, but the article that I posted covers them pretty well.
Cool. And just make sure to find this article. It's actually just here. Main distinctions between Explain Everything whiteboard versions. And if you scroll through it, it's so Cooper wrote this. It's quite in detailed overview of the differences, but this is very correct that we're working on removing those differences if they still exist. Some things will be different in between platforms because of the way software works with the operating system. But in terms of overall experience, I guess we're 90-something% complete in terms of providing the same experience independently from the platform. But the remaining few percent still needs some work.
Yeah, we'll go over 100 once we all have this exact same bugs on all platforms. All right. So let's jump to a question from Susan, because I can't wait to answer that. Sometimes after I create a video with drawings, when I replay the video later and post it, the drawings are messed up and in the wrong places. Is it a fault of the program or am I doing something wrong? Happens with Paint Bucket and Fill and Line tools. So it is a fault of the program, usually. And we would love to learn more. So if you have any examples of those that you could share with us, that would be great, because this would let us improve that. And this is something that we are working on very hard right now, and we want to have the the most cohesive experience, so that what you see is what you get in the end products. And if there are some bugs that you found, or you see that something went wrong and you see that something plays in the project one way and then you export it to a video and it looks different, then we'll be happy to look into that and learn more about all those differences or errors. So yes, please reach out to us, and we'll be happy to look into those projects, because yep, this is something we want to improve, and we know there are some things that need improvement. Sorry. All right. For inspection.
No,
most likely, because there are sometimes there are some quirks that you say you didn't know about how the layers could work. But yeah, I could imagine that with Paint Bucket and line tools that there can be some issues sometimes. But yeah. All right. So next question. Nowadays, after recording the videos, when I try to edit it, videos stuck many times, and also some parts of the video voice sign I can see there, but the voice does not come. When I switch off, and then sometimes voice comes again. Sorry for that. Today also I recorded a video, but whenever I'm opening edit, it stops at 4 seconds and also no voice in the internal parts. Oh, that sounds
weird.
That sounds weird, yeah.
I wonder was it a browser or mobile?
How many of those questions are connected to, because we recently we fixed the version already, but there was some issue during the weekend with the newest version of the Android and Chromebook versions of Explain Everything from Google Play, and we fixed it already. But there were some instances where it went really wrong, and I'm wondering if that's something that's connected to that particular issue. So, yep. I can't.
It might be also maybe it was a browser version Explain Everything, and there were network problems during recording that might cause such behavior. Don't you think, Kuba?
Yeah, but it's very it's so all over the place. That
would explain. Yeah. That would explain delays, but it would not explain why it stops on the 4th second of recording.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So the first thing, if you are on a device, please make sure that you have enough storage space on your device. Some of those bugs that kind of look like, say, app will stop responding are very often connected to the amount of storage space available on your device. That's our experience, at least. So please check if you have enough storage space on your device and see if you can free up some space. Because like creating a video and project editing can at times take some additional space. And if it doesn't have, it will just do all sorts of tricks in order to make that possible, but it will lower the performance to some extent. So and there's not really a workaround for that apart from like over optimizing the application, which is not really possible at this point. But yeah, so please check that. That could be my first suggestion. And the
other
voice
could be, maybe it's a performance of the device itself that causes problems on Explain Everything side. So if you see that there's like a delay when you're dragging the objects or using UI of Explain Everything, that means that device might be overwhelmed by the computing that is happening, let's say, in the background with other apps. Try to delete other apps or just remove them from memory or reboot the device to see how Explain Everything works and performs when it's the only app used on the device. It might help because the symptoms here could lead to this conclusion that it's a performance issue.
And if it doesn't help, yeah, please reach out. And again, we'd love to look into that. Like I said, some of those questions may be connected to the issue we had during the weekend, but you know, hopefully they are and they will no longer be there. So yeah, please do check your storage, reset your device, make sure that Explain Everything is the only app running. And if it doesn't help, then please reach out to us and we'll love to look into it. I have a feeling that we'll have all sorts of these questions today. Okay. So we can see your questions, but it didn't appear in the Q&A. So I'm not sure why. Oh yeah, there it is. There it is. We can see your questions. So yeah, we're answering them as they go. So now we're at the question that appeared 9:06. So there was like 20 questions right off the bat. So we'll get to your questions, don't worry.
Sorry to keep you waiting, but yeah.
So your was like 9:12. Okay, so for 3 more to go. To your questions, keep stay with us. All right, how can I upload a video and use it on Edpuzzle? I have been uploading mine to my Google Drive, but I do not know how to upload it to Edpuzzle from there. I want to upload the video directly from Explain Everything into Edpuzzle. I don't think that, because I've tried it and there's no direct way of doing that. If you are in Explain Drive, because I especially installed Edpuzzle to check this like 2 or 3 weeks ago, but there's no way to send it there directly for some reason. I don't know why, but I'll look into it and see. In terms of sending from Explain Drive, Google Drive. Are you on an iPad or are you on Android or Chromebook? That's my question, because that would make it easy to answer for me. Because as I'm on my iPad, I'll create a quick video and send it to Google Drive. Sorry for the delay. We know that a lot of our users are using Edpuzzle and they want this integration to happen, and there is a possibility it will, but we cannot yet provide any additional dates for now. But we know that this is something that people look into, and we've been thinking about this. All right, so I copied an MP4 video to my Explain Drive, and now I open up. Sorry for not sharing my screen and just describing this, but
if you'd like, you can share.
Yeah, but my iPad is not connected to Zoom right now. Sorry. So I'm trying to. All right, there it is. One sec. Hold on tight.
So you're trying to upload from Google Drive, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there it is. Okay, one sec. So now I found my MP4 file in the Google Drive, and I wanna send it to Edpuzzle. So I choose Open In, from the menu. I tap on 3 dots, choose open from the menu, and add puzzle is not on the list. So that might be the reason why it's not letting you do that. I think that I'm not really sure, but my assumption is that Add Puzzle kind of has to like open up their app. I might be wrong, so sorry, Add Puzzle people, if you hear that, and I'm wrong here, so sorry about that. But to be able to open, to deal with files that are sent from other apps.
This is something we can communicate with Edpuzzle and try to find a solution.
Oh, we would love to.
So,
yeah.
So if it does not work with from Explain Everything and does not work from Google Drive, it's definitely something that can be done on Edpuzzle slides to allow for this, and it should be an easy fix. So we'll do it for you. We'll communicate with them, and hopefully it'll be a fix in no time.
Okay. All right. So question from the bar. Why can't I enlarge or shrink my PPT slides when I import them onto Explain Everything? The short answer is that because they are locked by default. So in order to move them, they need to be unlocked. And it works with any sort of document. By default, I think on iPad, your documents will be locked. And if you go to your settings, I think.
So let me show you where to look for this option. So when you're accessing your presentation, I'm actually downloading mine now, and I took it from whatever source. It was a Dropbox for me now. And I'll just select 2 pages here, maybe those 2 in the middle. Here you have this option to lock pages. Just make sure it's not turned on. If it's turned off, I'll just make a screenshot so it remains in materials. If it's turned off, I'll just put it as vertical alignment to the current slide, and they should appear here. Those are large files, so you see them building, and I can move them with hand tool. However, if I do the same with this option on, and I'll just use first and the last one, I cannot move them. So you don't see my input. I'll just show you that I'm trying to move them by, well, you see now those 2 dots, these are my fingers. I cannot move them at all. So that most probably is the problem.
So can we show how to unlock them?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I'll just put here what triggers the problem. That's the option. Okay. And if you are in a situation that you already got yourself a slide that is locked, and I'll just use the last one now, it will obscure my screen. I can still unlock it, but I need to use inspector tool that is just here, right? So just to make it more visible for you, independently of the screen size, here, I will use the inspector inspector tool.
That's a massive power.
It is, but I want to make sure that it's visible on your end. I can select the slide, so I need to tap the object that I'm going to use inspector on. And where is it? Where is it? It's here. So here, if I select the slice, you see that the lock is activated. If I select arrow, the lock is not activated. But if I select this slide, it is. So all I need to do is to disable the lock here. So I'll just make a screenshot for you. So this also is included in reference materials, but I will now deactivate the lock. And as you see, both huge arrow and slide can be repositioned.
Awesome. Okay, moving on. So next question from Michelle. Is there a clear scene button to clear annotations in one fell swoop? Yeah, there were some requests about this. The way Explain Everything works is that the annotations are as independent as anything on the screen. So we don't really have that yet, though. You know, the response from the community was that it kind of it would make their life easier. So you're adding to that request, and I think sooner or later we'll have something like this.
But clear annotations on the top of, let's say, PDF.
Right. So I mean, because you can do that by, you know, just selecting the whole group of annotations. That's easy. But if you have like a whole screen of all sorts of annotations, then and you want to keep the document, you know, clear, then you kind of need to be mindful about what you're annotating on and how you do it while you're doing it, which is not something I think most people look for in these sorts of interactions. Though you can do that. Yeah.
I locked this page again. Oh my God, it's a curse. All right. So what do you think, Cooper, about using a third mode of eraser for this? So let's say I have annotations here, and I have different annotations here and there and everywhere, right? And I want to remove them. Well, of course, those exist as objects on top of that file. So I could just remove object instead and not the file underneath. But I can also use this tool here, that's the eraser, and it has this magic mode to remove basically everything except PDFs. That means that if I activate it, I can kind of like clear out the space like this.
Right. Yeah. That's if you have little annotations, but I assume this was you know, if you have a lot of them. But essentially, annotations will group to one another, and what you can do, if you that's what I'm saying, like this feature could really do wonders, but in this sort of thing. But what you could do, if you don't want to use Zoom tool at all, because that's the condition, then you can set your document or slide, if it's a single thing, as a background, and then you just swipe across the screen with the delete button and select everything, and then just press 1x and it will delete everything on the slide.
That's a good trick. Okay, so let's try this out. So I'll take this document.
But that's it, under condition that it's going to be a single thing that's always on the top of the screen and you won't pan around it. That's the condition in there. It will work.
So let's try it out. So that's the document, right?
Yep.
And I'm now setting this document as background with inspector, right?
Yep.
So now this object, as you see in inspector, is set as background. So what you're suggesting, Kuba, now is to provide those annotations. Yeah.
Yep.
Whatever they are. And remove any annotations you have, because they are now separate objects. Inspector will select them all with just this tool. So again, I do one swipe to select everything that is on the canvas. It will not select the background object, so you can easily use the delete tool to remove everything like this.
Yeah, and
was that your idea?
Because it might not appear clearly in the stream, Bart's pressing the red bin icon on the inspector in the right corner of inspector.
So one more time, I will just add more to it. Oh, it's beautiful. I really need to delete what is on the screen. So I use inspector here. I select everything with one swipe, and I use this icon here. It does not look great, but it's the icon. I'm moving. I just grabbed this icon. It's this red bin, as Cooper mentioned, to remove everything at once, except this material that is set as a background. If, for example, this material here would not be set as background, and instead would be just a material that is there on the screen with all those annotations, so it kind of like moves with everything, and I can send it to back to, hold on, I'll just send it to back. If that's the situation and you don't have this material as a background object, selecting everything might remove this object as well.
Well, you can deselect the document if you find space, but yeah.
But then it's still tricky because you need to select this, and those annotations might cover the object, and deselecting the object, it's not simple. So it's better to lock it as a background, as you mentioned.
Yep. But you won't be able to move around the document then. But yeah. We acknowledge that that's a feature that could be useful, and some people have requested it already. So we're looking into it. All right. Okay. Next question from Sue. Finally, we got there after 1 hour. Sorry about this, but yeah.
Sorry, Sue.
There's so many questions.
We're doing what we can. Really, we're trying to explain everything, and that's how it is.
All right. Sue says, I'm a speech pathologist creating lessons for preschool children, attempting to bring the content alive. 2 question marks. There are times when I want action beyond what my hands can do. Say PNG image of a bird flying. Could you please speak to sound recordings? Example 2-3 bird sounds, and is there a way I can share a template with a child who does not have explain everything to make it interactive? So I'll answer the last question first. They need to explain everything in order to interact with something by themselves. But if you are for them there, then you can invite them to a project that you've prepared, and they can interact while you're in it. That's the work. I guess that's how it works. Otherwise, if they want to interact and create their own projects, they could, using a free account, because it's the limit is up to 3, but up to 3 projects on a free account. So depending how you want to go about it, it is possible but this still requires them to have an account, even if it's free, right? So there's no way to have this sort of interactive experience that's not connected to explain everything. Okay, so that was the second part, and the first part was, there are times when I want action beyond what my hands can do. PNG image of bird flying. Could you please speak to sound recordings?
So maybe what I'm getting from it, Cooper, is that maybe it's a question of adding layers, stacking layers.
Yeah, that's what I thought initially, but I'm thinking about the sound part. So yeah, let's show how to stack layers of recording. So essentially, what you can do is you can record multiple things in multiple takes, and they will layer. So say Bart here recorded those 2 bats, if I remember correctly.
No, I'll do it now. So I'll mute microphone and I'll do the recording of the first bat flying, right? Cool. Did I? So that's the recording of the first bat flying. Okay, it's here. And if I want both bats to move in the same direction, I don't have to grab them with my 2 fingers. I can just grab first, do the recording as I did. And then I can, with one hand, swipe back, or just rewind to the very beginning. Silly me. I can just rewind, press record again in order to provide movement for the second bat. So I'll press record again, I'll grab second bat, And now I'm moving the second batch just to appear at the same spot. And now, as you see, I have those two tracks. First one was recorded with the first try and the second with the second try. And by the same logic, I can add more and more animations. So for example, the bear will move, right? And by this, you don't need to be overwhelmed with the number of animations provided at once. You could potentially do them, but you don't have to, because you can repeat that on and on as many times you need, including sound. So for example, having this animation now, I can add sound. Oh, what a crazy bat. They should impose some limits. And as you see now, I added this audio. I'm not happy with this, so I can remove audio and record it again. I love bats. They're my best friends. And as you see, I just improved that. And the same is with for example, this movement. I don't like the movement of the bear here, right? I can do it better, so I can just remove the track that is responsible. We call them tracks for the movement of bear, and record it again. I'll mute my microphone because I'm happy with sound, and I will just create additional movement of the bear. Does it make sense?
Yeah, and you can do that with any sort of object that you have on the screen. You can even play sounds or record multiple videos this way. So if you have a sound file, then you can play, you say that there are 10 sound files that you want to play at the same time on Explain Everything Canvas. You can do that by doing just that. It's kind of crazy, but Bart, I think, pictured the point very well, because the animations work the same way and Explain Everything as you would like play a sound file. So, yep, you can layer those. So if you have 2-3 bird sounds, then you can play one of them and then rewind and play another one and then stack those together. All right. And another question from Sue. Where is the sliding? Where is the sliding animation? I'm not sure which slide animation do you mean.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's really fun what you can do with little visual tricks.
Sliding animation. I think that's the question about the infinite scrolling animation.
Right. Okay. Sure. Mm-hmm.
So we have this sort of feature in Explain Everything on an iPad, which didn't yet come to other platforms, which is called infinite scrolling. This enables you to create the scrolling backgrounds and all sorts of scrolling stuff. So this way, there are even backgrounds in Explain Everything that you can use for that. Say you have trees and you can set them to scroll so that there's an illusion of movement of the background. So kind of like a Mario parallax effect. There you go. And they will indefinitely scroll.
So I guess they should be on the back, right? All right. But then again, I don't need this to cover it, right? Okay. So that would be the result. Oh, the engine was on fire for some reason.
Yeah, you have transparent wheels. That's amazing.
That's amazing, but we could improve this. Well, there are so many things you can do. Yeah, this is just for demonstration.
So since we have so many questions left, let's just ramp a little bit up. All right, question from Marsha. often I will go from slide 1 to slide 3, perhaps a graphic, then I go back to slide 1. However, in the recording, it is slide by slide, so it doesn't make sense when viewing.
Yeah.
I said, yes. And are there plans to record in real time versus slide by slide? So there is a very detailed article about how to and why this works the way it does in Explain Everything. What we advise usually is to think of slides as scenes. We used to have this functionality in an older app that allowed for jumping between slides, but this kind of made a lot of problems, I would say, given how Explain Everything works. So I'll link to the article. This is for an iPad only for now, though the article goes in detail on why and how you can work around this, because it's a pretty long one. So I'll post it in the chat.
But in order to suggest a simple solution for you, it might not work for everyone. If you want to use slide division, it's not a solution for you. But if you would want to think of using slides on a top of just Canvas, so let's say I have slides here, that's a 4-slide presentation. I'll put those to the canvas as a grid like that. You can, oh gosh, it's still locked. I use this option now, it's locked every time.
See, that's why the question popped up.
Yeah, very good. Very good to explain that. I need to change the setting. What you can do is to use a recording on one slide if you want to go from one slide to another and then come back. Oh, sorry, maybe not with light. And do this kind of animation by simply repositioning your view. Maybe I can show you this on a different slide, on an empty slide. So I'll put it here. Oh, that's interesting. I should copy my slides. We don't want this, we want that, okay. So the way I would handle this is that now I'm going to turn the recording, okay, and we're speaking here about slide number 1. And then I use the zoom tool to reposition myself to slide number, let's say 4, to then continue my lecture coming back to slide number 1. And you kind of like have a Prezi-like experience going from one slide to another. And what I want to emphasize here is that you can improve this experience if it's like too slow or too choppy by using those features that we have. Like, for example, here, I reposition myself from slide number 1 to slide number 4 in less than ideal way, but I can use this function here just to improve this process by making it more, what's the expression?
Split it out, yeah.
Yes, more smooth.
Yep.
So for example, I can demonstrate this on in a different way. Let's say I'll continue recording and I'll go here and I'll again bring a car to the canvas. I don't know why we like cars so much, but let's say I want to show how it works using a car. And this time I'm going to use yellow. And this is a very choppy movement, right? This is how it looks like. But if I select this part of the recording and smooth out, it should look like this. Real magic. So think about this tool as a way to improve experience of movement of objects, but also moving between scenes that are positioned on one slide, as in this situation here. You can actually smooth out the movement so it looks nicely.
All right, that's yeah. Having everything on one slide is also a workaround, let's say, for that, or to achieve that. A way to achieve that. All right, question from Jose. Is there a way I block temporarily the slides while I'm recording in the video? I keep moving from one slide to the next one and it drives me nuts. Yeah, so sorry, Jose, about that. I hope that you don't have you know, many problems because of this. There is no way to block jumping from slides. Is it just because you are, say, tapping on the interface? That's why it jumps to another slide. Maybe that's why. Because right now there's no blocking. What we can advise is to change your work area so that it doesn't overlap as much with the slide sorter buttons, so that you zoom out a little bit, so that, you know. Or is it just your wrist that just comes in way and you are accidentally tapping on the next slide button? That could be the case. Then
Cooper, maybe
you could move the control bar to the top.
Right.
Yep. If you're on the let me check that. Because
So
I assume that's the case, because accidental interface interactions could be the reason. So you can just move the control bar to the top. So that's why then you will, yep. And so that this way your hand won't be on the bottom. Your hand won't be touching the interface on the bottom. So I hope that will help you.
And we see many people doing that, to be honest. So that's the way you can do this. And then you have those controls in the top. Yep.
All right. Question from Michelle. Part of a slide, a video recording played as a part of my overall slide video when I exported is on MP4. I think it's a previous question, kind of related. Sorry if I missed that. Let me check. No, I don't think so. Okay. So, but when I select sharing the slide as a web video link, that video embedded into the slide became a gray square with no video. Why? So, and it's kind of like you're doing right now, I assume. Is there a limit to the size of the video files that can be embedded into a slide? This is just one part of a video recording of a whole slide. So there is no video size limit per se. There can be some problems with really huge video files, like, you know, 4K MP4 videos, but I don't think that we've seen any. So no one sent us any, you know, any project that was having problems like that. I think there was a situation with this gray gray video, but the question is whether it's a video that when I select
it might be situation with, I don't know, split screen does not show you the gray. I think we had this before.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we did. And it's so what happens if even if you insert a new video to a slide, then it will start recording, right? Say, what happens if you press record and insert a video while recording? Will it display a gray? I think it will, but I'm not really sure.
So let's try that. So
yeah.
Start recording and I'll add new video, right? It was great for a moment, but it's not recording now. So what was captured was a movement of the video frame, which still is a live feed. So that's not a situation.
Right, and if you're exporting a web video link now as a or as a video, even as a video to just the slide.
Okay, let's try to do that. That's slide number 3. So I'll just select slide number 3 when exporting. Okay. And I'll export this to the camera roll real quick.
Because this, I assume this is a encoding problem with the video file. So
let's check it. Video, yeah. Here it is. It is a white file. No frame is visible, so it was not captured. So that's not a situation that we're looking for. Hard to say. Hard to say. It would be great to understand how to replicate that problem, because then we can suggest some more. We definitely had this situation in the past in some scenario, but I cannot tell what exactly the scenario was.
So there is no part of a video recording played as a part of my overall slide video when I exported it as an MP4. So yeah, you would love to look into that actually, and see if if anything went wrong during the encoding or compressing or converting to video. So yeah, depends on the platform. If you could just try it and export it locally, if you are on the iPad or Android or Chromebook, then that would make it easy for us. And if you could confirm if that also happens when you export it.
Yeah.
But yeah, essentially, I remember some of this, but I would have to ask testers about this particular case. Why did this happen? So please get back to us after the webinar, and we'll look into that. Okay.
Okay.
Anonymous hack suggestion. In order to broadcast with Zoom, I sign into Explain Everything on my desktop unmuted and set that screen up to Zoom. Then I use my tablet muted to work. Okay.
Cool. You know, the level of complexity of using two tools to live cast your whiteboard it's quite big. There are many ways you can do it. So there are many hacks possible. And sometimes when we are showing how to broadcast through Zoom or Teams, we're trying to limit ourselves to those simplest of scenarios just to get you started. But there are countless ways of how you can improve and hack your way around and have a different stunning results. So yeah, please feel free to explore. But if you have something that you would like to share with other users or you think should be included in our documentation, just share that with us. So we're happy to put it and share it with other users.
All right. Rochelle asks, are Zoom broadcasting features available in Explain EDU? Yes. Yeah. Yes, they are. They just, it takes a little bit more setup, because just because the broadcasting option is not as well easy to access in Explain EDU. So, but it is absolutely doable. I sent you a link to an article where we explain how to do that on Explain EDU. On the bottom, there is a note for Explain EDU users, so you can follow the steps outlined there, so you'll be able to do that. Essentially, this broadcast feature uses the native iOS feature for broadcasting and screen recording. And in order to access that natively, you need to enable it in your dock. So, sorry, control center, in your control center. So it takes you just need to turn it on. And then you just swipe down from the top of your screen and press and hold on the screen recording button, and then select screen broadcasting.
So to show you where it is, I just took a screenshot of this part of the settings. If you go to the settings, all you need to do is to go to the control center and use screen recording. To add screen recording to the icons that will appear when you swipe from top right, as I do now. So as you see, when I did that, I see this recording. It's grayed out on the bottom of those icons. It's grayed out because I'm broadcasting using different means to you through Zoom and YouTube. So it's not available for me, but it will be available for you to broadcast through Zoom using your Explain Everything EDU.
Exactly. Okay. Next question. Feature request from anonymous attendee. Wondering if there are plans to make it possible to drag an action from one spot to another in the recording stream. For example, you want the pointer to better line up with speech, so you drag it back a few seconds in the stream. Yes, we would love to do that. Absolutely. That's something that we've been planning to do for a long time already. And it's something that definitely will come to Explain Everything. And we cannot yet tell when exactly, but we know that creating videos is one of the key areas that people using Explain Everything are interested in. And it's one of the core features that distinguish Explain Everything from other whiteboards. especially how easy it is to use it, and in terms of creating videos, right? And that's something that we would love to have, and we'll definitely do at some point, but not really. We can't really share any details on when this is going to happen. But yes, thank you for the suggestion and for this request. We are happy to hear that you are also looking for this sort of feature that we would also love to include in Explain Everything. So thank you.
Great question, great answer.
Okay.
So we're almost. Oh yeah. So
yeah, we're good. We're good. There
yeah.
are some questions from YouTube too. There are 9 left in the Q&A. I'll
okay,
look through
great.
chat once we're done with those. All right. So let's jump into question from Darlene. I'm using Google Meet and Classroom Explain Everything. Don't seem to be compatible with Google Slide Lessons. I'm really new to using both platform. Is it something I'm doing wrong? Google Slide Lessons. So where to start? So Explain Everything can use slides created in Google Slides, and it will turn them essentially into images or in a PDF format. They will change it to a document image, like a file that is flattened, right? No animations, nothing in there. You can select your Google Slides and save them as files, and then import them to Explain Everything, or you can use the Google Drive integration and import your Google Slides into Explain Everything, and it will import as they are, as a flat objects, as you would import an image, or as if you import a PDF, they would work the same way. And then what you would do is you would stream your Explain Everything screen to Google Meet. I'm not sure, because from your description, it seems like the angle is a little bit different for this particular scenario. I'm not really sure if I'm answering your questions here, but that's how we see it being used. So people create slides in Google Slide because they have a little bit more aesthetic control over the content, and they import them to Google to Explain Everything just so they can do it all live and have this interactive and really lesson-like presentation. And then they just share their screen, Explain Everything screen, in Google Meet. So that's how you would go about it, and that's how we see it being used most of the time.
Great answer. I'm keeping notes for you, Cooper, here.
The great notes. Yeah, thank you.
Live notes.
All right. Question from Jane. Can I show an active website to record, and how to demo and record? All right. So regarding the web browser, we recommend using web browsers in Explain Everything for live presentations mostly. The reason behind is that the way Explain Everything captures web browsers is that it kind of captures the screens. Captures the screens of what's happening inside of a web browser, and it cannot maintain the fluidity of, is that a word? Sorry. It cannot, it cannot have the same frame rate as you see it being, as you interact with it. It cannot have the same frame rate because it would immensely increase the size of the projects with the web browsers. That's why we don't recommend using web browser for recording videos with highly interactive web browsers, say like that have a lot of animations and videos and so on, because they won't be as fluid and as seamless, I would say. And it's great when you want to capture a particular frame in your recording of a website, but it won't scroll as nicely because the frame rate of the captures of those. Sorry for getting very specific here, but that's how it works essentially. Is lower than the frame rate of the recording of a project, because otherwise it would be too big. The size of the recording would be too big. So we recommend.
It's still kind of like okay if you want to provide some understanding of navigation. So I'll press the recording here, and now I'm capturing this website. And obviously there's a video in the background that won't play nicely, but if I go to, let's say, for school explainer videos, and I want to scroll here and explain that, right? And you notice here, this icon is blinking, and blinking of this icon means that the screenshot from what is in the browser is taken with each of those blinks. So when I press stop here and I go back, this is what you'll be getting. So you don't see the video because that was not captured, but then again, you see those going through the menu and then showing up those elements. So keep in mind that it's kind of like a simplified version of what happened in the browser. It's more for demonstrating how to work with less dynamic contents of the website. So it has some limitations. Still, it's quite useful when you think about possibilities of using a web browser on a whiteboard canvas.
Yeah, if you want to talk over like a mock-up of a website, of the way website is built, and you want to stop and talk over some of the parts of the website, yeah, it will work this way. If you want to present how your website is fluid and you know perfect, then I wouldn't recommend it for that. So yeah. Okay. Let's take another question. Leslie asks, I'm a teacher integration specialist and will be doing a webinar with the district teachers. Do you have any resources like EE project that I will be able to utilize for the webinar? So we recommend using one of the projects from our experts. They are pretty cool. The simplest one are the great starting points, especially one from oh my, I forgot the name. Sorry.
Which scenario was it?
Letter tracing. So it's either Belinda or.
Okay. So let me just go to the front of our app so I can demonstrate that. So here you have that was Stacy.
Oh, Stacy, yeah, right. Sorry,
so
Stacy.
Here you have so here you have one of our experts. And if you would want to use a scenario that he is speaking about here on this short video, and you want to replicate steps, you can get the project that is listed on the bottom of article. So you have this get project button. Once I do this, I'll get access to the file. Yeah, I can download the file. Yep.
And I also send in a short PDF that summarizes, explain everything pretty well. There's also a little bit older PDF that goes into detail on how tools work and so on. So I'll cover that too.
Yeah, but here I have this project, it's editable project, so everything here is actually created and explain everything, including you have those letter tracing templates that are related to the scenario that Stacy shared with us, and you can use them in your presentation. So the same goes with other scenarios that we're sharing here when covering use cases such as sketch notes, for example. So with Rashawn, you have those projects that you can use and videos of the things that can be created with Explain Everything. So it might be a good starting point just to take that as a starting point.
Right, and I've sent a PDF to the chat, so that should be useful as well. And if you're interested in any particular scenario, please reach out to us and we'll provide you with some additional examples. Okay. Also, question from Leslie. We live in New York and are now need to be compliant as far as students' privacy laws. Have you or will you be signing these compliances forms? Yeah, we do that on regular basis. So please reach out and we'll just, you know, assign those for you, review and sign. So that's something that we do very often. So please reach out to us and we'll provide you with additional information.
This is quite often these days. So we do have different settings in the app. So for example, if there are limits of how the app can be used, let's say your district or in your state or in your country, we can provide you with a simplified experience because this is highly customized, what we have here on the screen. So for example, in extreme situations, if there is no possibility to use, let's say, cloud features, those could be disabled. So there are many ways to be in line with compliance and regulations you have. So keep in mind that at best is to contact us and express what kind of limits you have, what kind of needs you have, and then we can adjust the experience towards your needs.
All right, so there's a follow-up from the previous ones about the sound not playing and stopping. So I have also sent you the screen recording, all the other recordings I can play, but not this one. So it's a project related thing. So there has to be something in the project that's not working properly. So we'll look into that and hopefully get an answer to your problem, and hopefully fix that so it won't happen again. Okay.
So those things sometimes happen, but we do have a great team in the background. They're not, on webinars and anything, but they are working hard to make sure that you're satisfied using Explain Everything. And from time to time, we do have like a corrupt project that happened to be corrupted, and then those folks are able to recover that. So if you happen to have that kind of problem, we're happy to look into it, fix it, and if there's something we can improve in the experience in the system or in the app, we do that. So thank you for sharing those experiences with us.
Awesome. Yep. Yeah. That's also, these Q&As are also for us. So just so you know.
Yeah.
And we're happy to learn from you. Let's jump to the question from Lewis, which kind of goes into the slide and order recording thing. Is it possible to record and explain everything without having to go to slide by slide, sorry. That is one continuous recording that allows you to record multiple slides without having to hit stop, pause, record. When I try to record all my slides at once, the navigation tabs with the arrows that allow me to move from slide to slide go into hide mode. So I can't click on the arrow to move to the next slide. Well, that's odd.
Very interesting.
To avoid this, I'm having to record from another platform called Screencast-O-Matic. Their platform is great, but it does not work well with iPad Pro yet. It only works well on a PC, laptop, computers. I'm looking for easy and efficiency when teaching from an iPad, not PC, because EE, in my opinion, works better from a tablet. Yep, desktop and laptop, all right. I also have an idea that will make your company lots of money moving forward and save teachers lots of time, but messaging will not do the idea justice. I would need to explain it by phone conversation, other means. Please reach out to us and we'll be happy to talk with you, Lewis. All right, and so regarding the hiding slide sorter buttons, that's on iPad. Why would it happen? That's kind of odd.
Yes, we're kind of like
because since we've already went through the slides on a single slide. Well, just having one slide and moving around it during this webinar. I'm wondering why. And I
don't know
all my slides at once, the navigation tabs.
But maybe because that is a bizarre.
I think I know what Louis means, because Tap click on the arrow to move to the next slide to avoid this somehow.
Yeah.
Move from
Have
slide
an
to slide.
idea?
This might be because unless you want to have the slide sorter opened during recording. That's what I'm trying to guess here. Because when you press, say, if you open the slide sorter, so you have like 3 slides, and press record,
Like,
the slide sorter disappears. But then, well, you can still change slides, and it will record to as usual. Yeah, you can open up slide sorter back again. I don't know why it would disappear. So if you could record that, this disappearing, that would be great, because I don't know why it would disappear. I'm not sure if it happened to anyone yet. So we would love to see that.
So maybe because I just, it's just a quick tip that I want to share. If you're trying to record multiple slides using just one slide, so let's say you added 3 slides to the canvas and you want to record them on a single slide and explain everything, there's just one more trick that I like to share. If you take your slides and those are connected, I have like 3 dummy slides here connected as one group. You can lock their position, let's say lock vertically, so they just move like this. And it might be a good way to record, because then you can record and do this slide animation without any crazy-like moving around of the canvas that gets people seasick. You can just have this kind of like animation.
Yeah, it's like a timeline thing, right?
Yeah.
Timeline like presentation style. Yeah.
Or if it's a text and it's a long one, you can do similar thing by just locking it in a different dimension. So now we need to lock horizontally, and you can just scroll through text and explain it. So let's say that's the frame where you record, right? And you can use the ninja and just scroll the material through the frame. And it's going to look very nice. So that's the other tip we can share, either doing that or that.
Yeah, that's a good tip. So you do that by selecting lock, either vertical or horizontal for certain groups of objects or objects.
Yeah, and I'll leave it here on the canvas if you want to watch it later.
I still cannot like parse the disappearing of slide sorter navigation. So yeah, I would be very happy to see that and how it happens. So please, Luis, if you could just record that particular thing happening, that would be awesome to see, because that's very unusual. All right,
Cooper, how many questions do we still have? We're almost at the
3.
top of 2 hours.
That's
right.
That's
so we
3,
have like 3 minutes for each question.
Some questions from
YouTube.
From YouTube, yeah. All right,
Right.
so okay, from Anonymous. Hi, on my iPad while recording and adding an object picture, I cannot see the appearance of my objects to match a certain moment of my recording. I cannot set the appearance of my objects to match a certain moment of my recording.
Well, there is a different way of doing that. So what I think happens is that the recording is on, right? That's the slide that is right now being recorded. And I want to add, let's say, this picture here. And you cannot do it precisely. So I added this on the 10th second, right? Or 9th second, while let's say I needed that before. So what you can do is to, instead of adding it during the recording, you can pause recording. So now this recording is on pause and I can slide back and forth and position yourself in exact moment where you want this new element to appear. And let's say I want this to appear at the very moment when I finished those lines. And now I can add object to the canvas. And let's say this time I'm going to add car, reposition it, even paint it with a nice color, and it will appear exactly in the moment, at the moment where you paused. So that would be the way to do it precisely. You can even zoom in to see, okay, I added it just before finishing this last stroke, this last line here. And that would be the suggestion how to add elements. Instead of running recording, just pause it, add elements, and then resume recording.
Yep. Just, yeah, scroll to a particular time. So yeah, I assume because the previous one was from Anonymous, this one is from Carolina. I meant to a precise moment of my voice recording, right? Yeah, that's how you do it. You just scroll to a certain point and insert your object in the pause mode, not during recording. It's much easier this way. Okay, so the last question, there was a question about the writing templates, so I posted those in the answer. So question from Susan, how do I keep things from not moving on my screen? So
how do you mean not
you
moving?
want them to be moving all the time? Keep things from not moving. Sorry.
You could set them as background. You can lock them to restrain their movements or their scale, because you don't
want them to move at all. So you just log them. I would log them. Just select inspector, select object that you want on the screen not to move at all.
And just lock.
And just select the top option, lock. And now, even if you select the hand tool, you won't be able to move
this object is now locked. Oh no! You see, as an object is locked, it's kind of like sticks in the front, and you cannot even move it when it's in the front, right? If it's unlocked, it will move. But if it's locked, like this, but if it's locked with this option here, you can move different objects behind this video frame, but not the frame. So that would be the way to do it. And keep in mind that, oh yes, it works with the zoom tool. However, if you set something as a background object, so let's say I want to use this frame with live stream and lock it in a different way to set it as a background, oh no, I'm behind the bars now. If I use the scale tool, the bars would scale, but not the object set in the background. So keep in mind that it works that way.
Yep, that's the difference. Essentially, lock is the way you want to go.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so Leslie, expand on the question about Edpuzzle. You can upload to YouTube first, and then it can go to Edpuzzle. You cannot go directly from Google Drive to Edpuzzle. Okay, got it. Oh, so you need a link to a streaming video. So this way, yeah. So this way you could just use the web video link from Explain Everything, and then send it to Edpuzzle. Okay, got it. So a link would work. Then, getting back to questions from Edpuzzle. So I'm just now getting through the chat. So, so once you export a web video link in Explain Everything, it should be able to send it to Edpuzzle. Then, I assume. Let's check it. Yeah. Yep, but I cannot send this link there. Yep.
So Cooper is trying something behind the scenes.
Yep. Sorry about that. Oh, why? That's odd. All right, sorry about that. Yeah, I'm checking behind the scenes, so maybe I'll read on the question. How can you possibly Explain Everything on the computer to create animations? That's a good question. It's a longer explanation, but essentially the same way we do right now.
now we're using tablet and it streams through computers, but we had a very interesting, I hope, webinar on this topic. So if you go to our webinars, where we keep recordings of past webinars, check this resource, using Explain Everything on a computer. And sorry for that. And here you'll see how you can record explainer videos with a different kind of like a UI, not multi-touch UI, but rather mouse, pointer, keyboard, the things of a classical computer. And we show tips and tricks how to go around and manipulate different objects. And yeah, it's possible to record quite stunning animations using a computer and browser version of Explain Everything. And we explored those options in this. We explored those options in this webinar, and the recording is available.
All right. Yeah, I can see that I cannot send the link to Edpuzzle for some reason. Yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll reach out to Edpuzzle folks, and I think they've reached out to us actually some time ago, but we are just so overwhelmed with requests and questions that it's really hard to track all of them. Oh, thank you. Carolina says,
my pleasure, Cooper.
You are the best. Awesome. Thank you. No problem. Happy to
it's
help.
the time of the day, right? It's the time of the day. Okay, but I'll
11 p.m. for us, actually.
Yes.
All right, so let's get back to the YouTube questions. Finally, the last ones. So first question is, how do we export and import? Possible to demonstrate? It depends on
export and import from YouTube.
No, I think just regular. It depends on the source you want to import from and source you want to export to, because there are so many options you can have. But importing, usually you can import files by using the Add Media button there. And this is where you select where you want to pull things from. So here you can select all the sources that you use. You don't have to use every one of them, of course. You can select the one that you use and import files from there, say like from Dropbox.
Just like that.
Just tap on the file, it will just load it. And once it loads, you can just
this
select.
one's large.
Oh yeah, it is.
It is really large.
And there we go.
Okay, these are 3 files. We'll just use one. And there you have it. Again, the lock is activated. But to export, well, you can export as a document, and that's the option here under export. You can select, if you want, the results of the project being exported as image, project, document, or video. Just keep in mind that you have a selector here where you can select which slides you want. So you have many ways of sharing which you created on a canvas, but also keep in mind that on a computer in a browser, the way to export is to share code to your project, because everything sits in a cloud. So that's the easiest way to export, not as a file, but as access to the canvas. In order to do that, you press invite here. So the project is uploaded to the cloud and you have options to share. I put so many things inside of that project that you now see that it's still preparing the project. Let's see how large it is, 77 megabytes. That's a large project. And then you arrive at this screen where you have the code under which this project is available. And you can restrict what those that access the code can do with project. For now, by default, everyone can edit, but you can do that by default. Everyone that accesses project can just view. And by this, you'll just remove everyone that will join the project will not see those editing options on the left side. Rather, they will be able to explore the canvas using the zoom tool. So I'll cancel this, but these are your options to export content from Explain Everything.
Yep, exactly, in a nutshell. And the
In a nutshell.
Final question. What is the stealth zoom for? I'm just joking. Hi, but this one is great. I love this app. I'm using it with my students. However, when they are asked to participate, they move everything around even when locked and sent to the background. How can I prevent that? Well, it sounds like a bug. Well, there are some. It shouldn't work that way. And yeah, and if you lock something, that it should be locked unless they unlock it. So maybe they know how to unlock it, and that's why they're messing with you.
Maybe.
Yeah, you know, it kind of like right now it's very, very apparent because the remote technology comes into play so forcefully, I guess, and it kind of shows how people also need to learn how to behave in those
New situations.
areas, in those new situations, because you know, just because they are not seen doesn't mean that they shouldn't, you know, act in a proper manner. So yeah, I know that's not a great answer to your question, because those things definitely should be locked and should be in the background. But if they have editing options, if you have like 10 people on a slide, I once edited a text file with 10 people in Google Doc, and it wasn't working very well anyway. So, you know, usually you want to kind of limit those options. If you don't want them to edit, you can just disable the editing for them and make it so that they can only view. This way, they won't be able to mess around with your content. And then if you want to enable someone, a single person, to join in and do something with you, then you can enable them the editing permissions.
Now we understand that, you know, changing the permissions for participants under invite button might be tricky or not so straightforward. Maybe I won't show this now because of the size of the project. Although we are introducing new controls, and those should be available soon, that will make it much easier to turn participants into view-only mode or editing mode. So this is coming, so make sure to stay with us. We're working on improving and adding more structure to this free form collaboration on a whiteboard. And good things are coming with the changes that we'll bring soon to the UI.
Yep. So you can have more control over what's happening on the screen. But yeah,
Definitely.
We'll see if that's something, if the locking is something, because I think it used to be already that's something that happened before, and maybe there was some sort of change that we've introduced that kind of got back to the previous state where things are not locked when they are supposed to. So we will look into this and see if it happens again. And right, maybe they just figured it out. The inspector isn't as huge after all.
All right.
I think we're good. Hopefully
Cooper,
we went everything.
I think we covered quite a bit. If you look at the canvas here,
oh yeah,
there were a lot of questions. So if you like the format and if you like what we're doing here, just share your feedback with us. We will come back again with similar session in about 2 weeks. Next week, we have a quite interesting webinar about overcoming limitations and introducing remote teaching. And we'll speak with experts about this topic. So if you're interested in learning how to put remote learning into practice, overcoming different barriers that might exist along the way, make sure to tune in to that one. It's on May 12th. But in 2 weeks, we're going to have another Q&A, extended Q&A session. So if there are any questions that remained unanswered, we're happy to explore those questions and illustrate answers next time. For the time
We'll be
being,
happy
I
to.
thank you, Cooper, for helping so much from behind the scenes. This is social distancing in action. Maybe next time we can join an office and sit separately. But thank you, Cooper, for helping us, and thank you for those that participated for asking such great questions, and thank you for suggestions.
Thank you for coming and joining us. Thank you, Marianna, for taking care of the YouTube chat and helping us out. And thank you all for coming. We're really, really happy that we can do this for you and answer your questions live. And we hope you enjoyed it. And thank you, and see you again soon.
Thank
Awesome,
you.
thank you.
Stay safe, and may learning never stop.
Thank you very much.
Next time.
See you.